I've used a lot of meal services, but Hungry Root truly stands out because it's built around the way real families live and eat. They don't just send meal kits. They personalize your grocery cart and meal plan based on your preferences and dietary goals. All I had to do was take a short quiz, and right away, their smart cart technology started building a cart that fit how we eat. Now, each week feels easier, like someone else is doing the thinking for me. I've been focused on cleaner eating lately, and I love that Hungry Root keeps out over 200 additives, including things like high fructose corn syrup and artificial sweeteners. Their meats are hormone and antibiotic free, and the produce options include organic and non-GMO picks. They also stock brands I already trust, like Oatly, Vital Farms, and Harmless Harvest. One of our favorite meals has been the teriyaki salmon with green beans, light, flavorful, and done in 12 minutes flat. Plus, I've noticed we waste less food, spend less time shopping, and even save money by skipping those impulse grocery buys. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg and use code Dr. Meg. That's hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg. Code Dr. Meg to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg. Code Dr. Meg.
On today's episode of Parenting Great Kids.
The only election debate ended with one candidate looking at the other person saying, if you vote for this person, you're voting for the end of democracy. And the other person pointed and said, if you vote for this person, you're voting for World War III. And so kids, they breathe our air, so it's up to us to begin to regulate ourselves and do what we have to do so that we can be well, so the kids in our lives can be well.
This is Parenting Great Kids with Dr. Meg Meeker.
With the recent election sparking so many discussions and differing opinions, the ongoing weather-related crises, everyday stressors, kids are feeling the impact. And as a parent, how do you guide them through the uncertainty in a world around them? In today's episode, we're joined by two-time #1 national best-selling author. He has 2 PhDs and over 2 decades of experience in counseling, crisis response, and higher education. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite books that he's written called Building a Non-Anxious Life. And you know, John, a lot of times I tell people that authors write books to solve our own problems. Now, you're not an anxious guy. You just are so pumped. But welcome to the show. I can't wait to get going with this. Is that a true statement? You just said you move all the time.
Wherever my wife happens to be in the city of Nashville right now, she just got struck by lightning when you said that. No, she tells me I'm a lot. So yes, I have a very anxious disposition.
You know, I think that people who charge ahead, and I'm one of those people, you know me, I just go and I just can't stop. And, you know, my husband always tells me, you're such a type A personality, but you try to look like you're type B. And he said, you can't fool anybody. So let's talk about anxiety. Before we started, you and I were talking about the fact that calm is one of the greatest gifts that a parent can bring to the home because, as you said, kids wear their parents' tension and their emotions. So if we can help parents get their anxiety under control, the ripple effect onto their kids is profound. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I can't. I don't know that people in our world, whether you're therapists, whether you're counselors, whether you're spokespeople, whether you're pediatricians, I don't know that we can over-communicate this enough to parents. If your kid's struggling with angst, that by and large, outside of the bell curve neurological conditions, kids absorb the tension and the angst in the adults in their lives. That's how their nervous systems are designed. And so, Meg, I'll never forget this. I was new to the media ecosystem, and so they would prep me a lot for interviews, especially on like national media. And I had a rule that if I got asked a question I wasn't prepped for, I would just answer it from my guts. And I'll never forget, somebody asked me a question that I was not prepared for, and it was during COVID, and they said, hey, have we created a 100-year problem with these masks that we're making these kids wear? And I remember saying, regardless of what you believe, this and that, I think kids, it was very difficult for kids to go be around other children. My daughter was a kindergartner at the time. It was brutal on her, being around, not being able to see the emotions of the other people in their lives. But I said, kids are very, very resilient. I'm way more concerned that kids have been locked in their homes for 2 years with dysregulated, angry, frustrated, raged out adults. That is way more concern to me. And man, I was just talking to a group of business leaders just right before I got on here. The only election debate ended with one candidate looking at the other person saying, if you vote for this person, you're voting for the end of democracy. And the other person pointed and said, if you vote for this person, you're voting for World War III.
What are you supposed to do
with
that? Exactly. Right? Yeah.
And so that's the world that all the adults find themselves in. And so kids, they breathe our air. So it's up to us to begin to regulate ourselves and do what we have to do so that we can be well. So the kids in our lives can.
You know, we've sort of found a lot of stuff around us that causes us anxiety and we don't even realize it. Yeah. You've got sometimes two parents working outside the home. The job is very stressful. You've got kids running all over the place. The kids are stressed out about their sports and parents are stressed out about getting them there. They turn on the television. They listen to media that, just like you said, there's nothing nice on the media. I mean, they're pummeling one person or another. And then you can go in and you can see these horrors and tragedies on the television show. So how much of our external environment do you think affects our mood and anxiety? The stuff that we allow into our lives, I guess is a better way to say it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's caustic. I guess it's a funny thing. I don't know how this became a point of debate. That if you listen to and absorb negativity all day long and you're running from thing to thing and your calendar's so full you can't, that, you know, if you're 10 minutes late on Monday, it ruins your Friday. And let me put it this way. When kids know that they are the epicenter of the home, their schedules determine where we eat dinner, what we do on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Wednesday nights. Their 9-year-old soccer coach tells us what we're going to do on the weekends for the next 14 years of our lives. They see your face. I remember my dad's face. He promised me if I got into student council that he would pay for my tux for prom. And I'll never forget the look on his face when he leaned over and quietly told the guy at the tux place, it was $60-something. And he said, put $9 on this card, put $13 on this one, and I think the other ones can be on the rest of it. I remember his face. And I was an 18-year-old, and my dad was doing the best he could to keep his promise to me. And also, I was a kid. It wasn't my guilt and weight to carry, right? And so these kids know that their parents don't have the money and the time and the expense and the energy and the space. Kids can feel when adults are co-managing their house, but their marriage is falling apart underneath them. Kids can absorb all that, and a kid can't carry the weight of a home. That's not their job. And yeah, so this stuff that we allow in, constantly streaming the news, and that's just in addition to, like, eggs are expensive now. Right. Milk is expensive. And so there's a reality also. We only have so much capacity. So let's deal with the ugly reality that exists. And there's just so much capacity. And I think it's adults trying to numb how powerless we all feel.
You know, we do.
And so we scroll and we watch and we listen.
And sometimes we just kind of blank out. I think of kids as sort of this little person with all these different things coming at them. They're hyper stimulated all the time, and their parents are as well. But since we're talking about kids and what parents can do for their kids, and I guess we could do this with parents as well, there's so much parents can't control with the influences around them and the influences around their kids. So can you give me, I'm putting you on the spot here, Don, 3 things that parents can eliminate from their lives and or their kids' lives that would bring the anxiety level down. For instance, I'm wondering, I heard you say just a minute ago that when kids are the epicenter of the family, life doesn't go well. I agree with you that makes kids very frightened and very scared because they don't want that kind of power.
Yeah.
So if you had to choose, 3 things that parents can eliminate in their lives and then 3 in their kids' lives, what would those be?
I would tell moms and dads to close their laptops and put their phones away. Period. End of story. That's number 1. A kid's nervous system is not designed to compete with an iPhone developed by the brightest engineering and technology and neuroscientist minds. It can't compete. The second thing I would tell parents to do is to stop using your child as their report card, meaning your child's grades and your child's athletic performance is not a reflection on you as an adult. So stop. The thing to remove is remove your kid as your report card and replace that with get your own adult friends. Get the people in your world. And the third thing would probably be, I heard this recently, in 1920, the average meal in the United States took about 90 minutes. The average meal in the United States in 2021 was 12 minutes. And we don't have time. We're running and running and running. So remove this chaos. Give your kids one team they can be on at a time, one instrument at a time. And exhale, and then learn to be awkward and sit and have dinner with your family. And as one, my buddy who went and spent some time with the Amish said, he looked at the guy and said, "Hey, I'm done eating." He goes, "Yeah, you're done eating. The meal's done."
Love it.
And I was like, it's such a great line. So, remove the calendar clutter and remove the screens, the immediate screens, remove this obsession with optimization and efficiency and spend slow time together.
I tell parents, stop photographing your kids all the time.
Because
it makes kids feel like they are a doll to be shown off by their parents.
They're a performer.
And a lot of parents will, they put them on Facebook, they put them on Instagram. First of all, I hate that. Don't put your kids on the internet. But,
Amen.
It must make kids feel odd to be photographed so much. Can you address that? How parents put their kids, set them up for anxiety?
If you don't mind me getting a little bit nerdy, our nervous systems are not designed to see, to live reflexive lives like our video cameras and our photographs allow us to do. What does that mean? For all of human history, our actions and behaviors and wooing behaviors, dating behaviors, social behaviors were mediated with other people. I'm going to smile and drop my shoulders because I can see your eye crinkles when you smile. And when I'm still, you get still. We don't do that anymore. Now we look at our hips and how our hip is standing and how our legs are crossed. And so we have taken our, all the neuro studies are beginning to show, which is so good, that humans connect not informationally, they connect emotionally. Right? That's why as a physician, when you're still and you simply just put your hand on your patient's hand, their whole body goes whoosh, right? We connect that way.
It's true.
And so when a kid is learning that they are regulated by their own image, their own video of themselves, and their parents model that for them. Look how you're standing. Look how pretty you are. Look how funny you were. That is something that has never existed in human history. And we don't have the neurobiology for it. And so of course our bodies are rattling. It's trying to adjust to a new gasoline that it's never run on before. It's not how we're designed. So stop taking pictures of your kids. But that goes back to that. Stop using your kids' cuteness or your kids' funny jokes as entry points into adult conversations. Be awkward, and you learn how to do adult conversations without using your kids as the grease to the slide, if you will. They're not tools. They're your kids, man.
Mm-hmm. They're your kids. And, if you listen to other parents talk, this is classic mothers will do. You run into a friend you haven't seen for a while. You ask how her kids are doing, and she launches into this long list of accomplishments her son has. Now, clearly she's doing that to show off, and maybe that's all she knows to talk about, but never asks about your kid. But it always comes down to, here are the things that my child is really, really good at. Therefore, I'm such a good parent. And you're left standing there, giving your kid an ice cream cone at 6:00 at night because I haven't figured out what to have for dinner yet, But so talk about, if you would, the ways that friends, particularly females, will do this. Women friends contribute to one another's anxiety.
Man, I had a really great mentor, someone I really credit with saving my spiritual life and in many ways my marriage, a very, very wise man that spent a year with me. And he said the air of the age is sarcasm and pessimism. That's the air we breathe. And sarcasm and pessimism presents itself as wisdom in our current world. And so when you walk into a room and you ask somebody, hey, how was your weekend? They're like, yeah, it was fine, man. You see how expensive things are? And the gas is crazy. And you see so-and-so's tweets, and you see that presents itself as that person is informed and they're on top of things and they know what's going on. And then somebody else walks in and you ask her how her day is going, and she says, man, my weekend was all right. My kids and I, we kicked the soccer ball around. We didn't do a lot. We did some yard work and we ate. Air conditioner was working again, so it was good. She leaves and people are annoyed by her. They think she's crazy. She doesn't know. And so I think in a time when pessimism and sarcasm is wisdom, it becomes self-reinforcing. I remember I'll never forget the loneliness, Meg, when my book went #1. I was driving down the highway in an SUV headed to a book signing. Dave Ramsey calls. He is screaming on the phone, "You did it!" Ah! It was so exciting. I called my mom. I called my wife. I went to this book signing only because of Dave. The line was out the door. I went through that. I went and sat. After that, I got in the car, drove back to my hotel, and the door shut. And I remember thinking, oh, I came with me. It didn't solve me, right? The age, the wisdom is, bleh, right? There's no one to call and say, hey, something really good happened. This is pretty cool. And so I think adults fall into this trap that they just spin each other up. Would you hear about this? Oh yeah, did you hear about that? Did you hear about them? Did you hear about that thing? And it becomes this negative reinforcement, social reinforcement, where we know and love each other by how negative everything is. And our bodies understand that we are breathing poison. It's just the air we breathe, man. And you put on top of that how lonely we all are. We live via text message, via long threads, and our bodies are starving to death for human connection.
And I love that you bring up, your book and how well you're doing, career-wise, and your books are doing so well. And people will look and go, oh, that's wonderful. You have no problems. But you know what? Loneliness is loneliness is loneliness. And you're absolutely right. Wherever I go, there I am. That's a book you need to write.
I think
wherever
Ram
I go,
Dass
there
wrote
I am.
it, but
My
yeah,
Dr.
I'll rewrite
John
it,
Deloney. Okay. But I think that it's important for us to sort of stop and say, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. Sarcasm and pessimism. Start to look for it in your environment. Start to name it and to see it, because you can't pull away from it until you know what's going on. Let's talk about kids. A lot of parents will bring in their kids, even as young as 5 and 6, to me, and say, Johnny's just all stressed out about school. He doesn't want to go. He's the minute he walks into school, he just can't walk into the classroom. He freezes. He's scared about something. What should I do? One, how do parents identify some fear with true anxiety? And B, once they see that the child really has some true anxiety,
such
where
a great
do they
question.
Start?
I've experienced it with both of my kids, and I have deep shame about one situation with one of my kids. I ignored him. I told my son, suck it up. He's 3rd grader. Like, dude, you're fine. Every kid goes. And I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. And so I encourage every parent. Here's the question a parent needs to know. Does my child's teacher know my child? And when we sat in with my daughter, we went and sat down. when the school psychologist, we've only done this one time. When my wife, she was Dr. Deloney, her research and academic work was with kids. Only one time have we sat down with a group of school people and said, "Hi, I'm Dr. Deloney and I'm Dr. Deloney," and letting them know we're not here to play, we're here to advocate. And I hate doing it, but we
mean business, yeah.
And it was very clear those teachers did not know my kid. And when a teacher was saying, "No, that's not who we experience," I'm telling you, no, I know my daughter. And so we demanded some testing, and I'll never forget the school psychologist called back and said, or the district, and said, "Have you ever seen the movie Good Will Hunting?" Right. So I was like, I knew it. Right. So if your teacher says, "Oh no, I know your son. He is hyper and he moves around and he's a lot and he struggles with being still. I know him. And so I give him some special activities," then your son is in a safe place where he's seen and he is known, and he's going to have some challenges because he's a little more hyper, a little more slow, a little quicker, a little faster, a little whatever. And so we're going to work at home on some strategies. If your child has found themselves in a school that cares way more about testing than they do your kid, way more about fill in the blank, then you have to address that. And it's hard. And it's even more challenging when you find yourself, you and your spouse working 2 jobs, or you're a single parent and there's not another option. That's a very difficult, scary place to be. But I think I always want to know, does the school know my kid? That's question number one. Does the teacher know my kid? Does my kid have adults that they can be tethered to at school that know them and see them? The second thing is going to be, there's been some extraordinary findings with young kids and ADHD and anxiety and physical therapy. It's really been tremendous. And so I've seen some physical therapy. You said.
I just want to make sure.
And what it usually means is a kid learns body control, and they learn to have tiny wins in the presence of, usually they're 19 or 20 or 21, or sometimes they're 26, 27-year-old. They're usually young and hip. They got tattoos and nose rings. They're cool. But it's these, they put them on trampolines and they do these jumping exercises. But kids slowly build success, and they build tiny wins in the presence of an adult that's rooting them on and cheering them on. And I've seen some really magic there, and I've seen some magic with, non-directive play therapy. But again, it's not being scared to get your kid with the right professional. Dr. Meeker, there is some magic with turning screens off and turning your phones off and making a mud puddle in your backyard and sitting in it with your kid with a stick and a wheel and just being silly. There is magic with a pillow fight. My daughter, I have a, much to my wife's chagrin, I have a roll-up Olympic wrestling mat that goes up in our living room. And it was initially for my son, and now my daughter, who's 8, who's a human hurricane, who is about 1/15 my size and body weight, will look at me and say, "You want some of this tonight, Dad?" And I'll be like, "Are you ready to lose?" And she's like, "Only if you're ready to go to bed." And we talk a little trash, and we roll out that mat and we wrestle. And I feel it. I feel the angst and the stress leave my daughter. I feel her lean into my nervous system. And I also feel when I'm stressed, it repels her, right? And I need to go do my work, right? But so those are just a few things when it comes to school, when it comes to home. Few things like an attuned, connected, still parent can still a child. It's pretty magic. Does that ring true?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
I love your approach with the ADHD because, I always say every kid, every boy, bouncy boy needs a tree on the playground at school. Let them climb a tree. Let them fall out. Let them do whatever. They have to be outside. And one of the biggest mistakes a teacher will make is if this kid acts up in school, they keep him in for recess. Please don't do that. Kids.
Or isolate them. ADHD can be a scream for connection. And you say, you have to go sit over there by yourself, right? I know it's disruptive. I was a teacher. I was a high school teacher. I know how disruptive it is. I know. And you're just putting gasoline on a fire, right?
Many professionals invest in an executive coach for personal development and a trainer for physical fitness. Now, you can hire me, a best-selling author and expert coach, to help you raise great kids. I've over 35 years practicing pediatrics and an extensive experience decoding what your kids need and think about you. I've helped countless parents just like you. You can talk directly with me through private or group coaching. I'll listen and provide a customized plan to help you be the best dad you can be. Sign up now through the link in the episode notes. Your kids are counting on you. Let's make your family's future brighter together. You know that moment when your child lights up because something finally clicks? That's what every parent wants, to see their child thrive. But when school just isn't the right fit, that joy can fade. That's why I want to tell you about K-12 powered schools. These are tuition-free, accredited online public schools for kindergarten through 12th grade. They're designed to meet your child where they are, so they can learn at their own pace, in their own space, and a curriculum that fits their unique learning style. And here's what sets it apart. This isn't homeschooling. You're not the teacher. K-12's state-certified online educators are trained to make lessons interactive and engaging using innovative technology. And your child still gets social experiences, clubs, extracurriculars, even in-person events. K-12 has helped over 3 million families give their kids the tools to thrive, and they've been doing it for more than 25 years. It could be exactly what your child needs. Visit k12.com/Dr. Meg to find a tuition-free K-12 powered school near you and enroll today. That's k12./DRMEG, all caps. Some days, parenting feels like chasing moments that never quite land. You ask a question, they shrug. You try again, they look at their screen. And you wonder, why is this so hard? That's why I love FamGabs. It's a 70-card deck created by a child therapist who spent 16 years working directly with families, helping parents and kids break through the awkward one-word answers and really connect. The questions are open-ended, thoughtfully chosen, and designed to get your child talking and keep the conversation going. There are even bonus cards just for parents to help you build your confidence in your connection toolbox. If you've ever wished for a better way to understand your child or just to have more meaningful conversations as a family, FamGabs is such a gift. Search FamGabs on Amazon and use promo code DrMegPod during checkout to get 10% off your order. That's FamGabs on Amazon. Use promo code DrMegPod and get 10% off your order.
What I hear you're saying is that even when kids have some anxiety around school or anything, there's a lot that parents can do to kind of bring the kid down a little bit, to quiet them down and calm them down. And I think play is amazing.
Attuned play. Attuned play.
Attuned play. Now, some parents say, you always talk about connecting with your kids, and you're talking about being attuned to your kids or in tune with your kids. For those parents out there who are like, I don't really know what you're talking about, dig a little deeper into that.
I think we live in a time when we have got overly scientific and we've gotten overly sophisticated for our own good. Here's what attuned means. The power went out in my house 2 mornings ago at 4:12 a.m. I had to get up at 5 at an early morning, and it's one of those annoying things when everything went beeped really loud and the power goes out, and you're 45 minutes ahead of an already early morning, and then I heard my 8-year-old yelling, "Dad, Mom," because she's scared of the dark still. She ends up in our bed, and I said, "Hey, we got 45 minutes left. Go back to sleep. This is too early." And then I felt a teeny tiny little 8-year-old finger poke me right in the belly, right in the side. And I poked her back. And then I felt her little toe kind of pinch my foot, and I kind of pinched hers back. And within 6 or 7 minutes, my wife was kicking the covers off And she was like, y'all are the worst. And it ended with a WWE pillow fight, me and my daughter. That's attunement. That's not a special course. That is not hide and seek, cards, rolling around on the floor, Play-Doh, coloring. Some days my daughter needs coloring after school. Some days we take our shoes off and we play Frisbee in the front yard. Even when it's hot or even when it's cold. Sometimes we go for a walk. Sometimes we wrestle. And by the way, I'm talking 15 minutes. I'm talking 10 minutes. I'm not talking 2 hours. Most parents don't have 2 hours. It's little, like we do dance nights. These are little things that just let your kid's nervous system know I'm plugged back into a stable adult. And can I say this? This is, I haven't told this story much, and I'm getting to where I'm being more open about it. This is not long ago. This is maybe 24 months ago now. My big dirty secret was I had books that were doing well, telling people how to do relationships, and my show's doing well. And my daughter wouldn't hug me. She was 6, 4, 5, 6. She wouldn't hug her dad. And it was my wife who casually mentioned one time, hey, you're always talking about how kids absorb tension. What if her teeny tiny little body has identified you as unsafe? Well, that made me mad, hurt my feelings. And I was like, I don't swear, I don't yell, I don't hit my kid. Like, there's nothing unsafe about me. And my wife said this. She laughed and she goes, oh, John, you're the best husband I could dream of, best dad. But you have a nuclear reactor in your chest. We can feel it. She called it Sunday afternoon dad. And she goes, we all know not to come in the room. You don't have to say anything. And so I got mad, Meg, and I went to a therapist in town. And I was like, hey, my wife tells me. I ended up about 7 or 8 months later sitting down with my wife telling her about some stuff that happened to me when I was a kid that I've never told anybody ever, ever, ever. And I wouldn't wish that in 7 months of me going to sit with a professional on anybody. And it was about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, I was doing something and I said these words, Josephine, who's my daughter, get off of me. And I remember sitting up laughing because now I'm her human jungle gym because nothing was ever wrong with her. Her dad needed to go deal with some of his health issues or his emotional challenges or my pain that I had never dealt with. And my nervous system then was free, which allowed her to do the one thing she wanted, which is to get real close to her old man. And same with my son, so a lot of the time our kids' anxiousness is their bodies trying to solve their adults, the problems of the adults in their lives, and kids can't carry that weight. And so there you go. No, I was just going to say, it's so moms and dads, you're worth doing the work. And it's easy to say, well, my kids struggling with this, they've got this. And sometimes they actually are. There's pediatric challenges, there's neurological, it's for real. Often it's moms and dads, it's our stuff that we got to go deal with so that our kids can plug in and go, finally, thank God I'm safe.
You can see it.
Yeah.
Because I've interviewed, thousands of parents and kids, and I know you have as well, but you can see it. Yeah. You can see the dynamic where the parent is sharp and they're uptight and they want you to fix their kid and what's wrong with her and why can't we this? And I kind of look at them and you can, as they're talking, you can see the child sort of draw inward and look at the ground with a lot of shame. And it's interesting because parents need to realize kids need you to be healthy emotionally. They need you to be mentally healthy because they watch you and they study you and they pick things up from you. You are their world. You have the power and they know this, and it's very, very frightening. So I would really encourage parents too. So what are some of the signs that when a parent knows, gee whiz, I'm doing this and this and this, and this is an issue I need to deal with rather than my kid. So what should parents look for in themselves in order to identify that they need some help to help their child?
Can I get us both canceled?
Yeah. Yes, of course you can. Yeah.
If you give your kids permission to make you mad, they're 9. If you allow your adult emotions to be regulated by a child, if you walk into your house and your kid walks in the room and you feel tense, you walk into the house and your 14-year-old slams the door and you just roll your eyes and say, well, they're just teenagers now. When your body lets you know, oh, here we go again, rest assured that your child feels that too. When you walk into a room and your shoulders drop and you're happy to see your kid, then your kid is happy to see you. And that doesn't mean that they're not in trouble, that they left their stuff out again, but there is a spirit in which, right? There's a difference when your child is like my 14-year-old son, like he walks down, is your shirt on backwards again? For real? Like, for real? And he's like, Dad, it's fine. It's not fine. Like,
Fine.
That's different than he is somehow bearing the name of me out in the world, and he's got to carry this. He's 14, man. He can't carry that weight. Good gosh.
No.
And so there's a difference there, right? But when you find your chest tightening up at the thought of being with your kid, seeing your kid, talking to your kid, rest assured that their body's electric too. And all they want to do is plug in with you. When you find yourself getting out of control, angry, when you find yourself reaching for your numbing behaviors, whether it's Netflix or donuts or another drink or pornography, whatever your coping strategies are, if your kids' performances, if their grades, if their athletic ability, if those things are driving you to your numbing behaviors, your kid innately knows I am a theater on the stage and my mom and dad are Simon Cowell and they are judging me to prove that the kids know that they carry that weight in the house. And so this sounds trite and silly, put your hand on your chest and follow your body. And if it's tense, trust me, your kids are too. And those are go head right through that discomfort. Go see a counselor, go see a physician, go talk to somebody who's a professional and say, I want to be a safe place for my kids. Most of us maybe weren't safe places for our parents. And so our body's just doing what they know. Great. Let the cycle stop with you. But that's just a few things.
I think you're right. And so many times I talk, about the preload, what parents actually bring into their parenting.
Yeah. That's a great word, Meg. I love that, preload.
Well, it's sort of intuitive. I think whenever I say it, people go, oh yeah, okay. It's kind of heavy on my back. And it works itself out in your parenting. And if you don't deal with it, if you don't turn around and look at it, it's going to run your life with your kids.
Let me throw this out.
Sure.
If you or somebody in your home says these words, if you do that, you're going to make mom really mad. Or, hey, don't do that. Your dad gets home in a few minutes and what you are teaching this child is they are responsible for the emotional regulation of the adults in their lives, and kids cannot carry that. You can tell kids, I am choosing to have my feelings hurt by what you said. You can tell your kids, you're choosing to leave the room by the way you're talking to people. Please don't choose to leave this room because you're important here, but nobody talks to mom or dad like that. If your kid knows there's a point I can push you when you kick me away, they're going to try to seek what that line is, right? So it's letting them know you don't have the power to dysregulate me. I'm an adult. You do have the power to make some choices about whether you can participate. I want you here. And letting kids know you don't run this house. I do. And if you can't run your house, then go do the work that you need to do so you can, right? I love that preload. Most of us come into hold our first baby and we go, oh no, what do we do, right? And so, man, all of us are there.
Right.
It's our job to do the work. It's not our kids' job to sing and dance.
We only have a couple minutes left, but one of the things I'd love for you to talk about, because I see this fairly frequently, is this sort of hypersensitive, explosive child. The child that you look at or you say something and they can't stand you and they run around and you say, well, stop it, stop it, stop it. But it never seems to stop it. How would you, and I say hypersensitive, and yet they look like they're not sensitive at all because they're going around just with their hands on their hips going, yeah, come at me. I don't care. What would you tell parents of a child like that?
I mean, crassly, I would tell them to stop sitting there saying, turn off the TV. I said, turn off the TV. I said, turn off the TV. You get one, and then you get up and go turn off the TV. And then you address the situation there. This guideline doesn't always bear out, but one of the simple heuristics for parents are kids do what works. And kids will find their way to your attention. And if they have to fight through your TV shows and your work stress and your marriage dysfunction and your screen usage on your cell phone, they will find a way through it. And sometimes I think this is biological, but some kids are deeply feeling kids. They feel the world heavier than others. And I think when we lived in tribes, they were a magical gift. They could tell you, I think things don't feel right around here. That's an important gift. Don't take that from a kid. And they have to learn that there's not a thing their feelings can do to push the adult away. I heard this from a psychologist at New York, Dr. Becky Kennedy, and I rolled my eyes at how simple this was, Dr. Meeker, and I did it with my daughter, and I started laughing at the result.
It's true. The most powerful things are simple.
When I had my daughter's she's just like her dad, feels the world very heavy. I did two things. Once I sat down, when she started showing her anxious signs and a little bit of her ADHD signs, and she may have some of her dad's OCD, which, by the way, is a context, not an excuse. I still have to be on time. I still have to treat people with dignity and respect. It's my job to do the work upstream so that I can live in the society with which I've been plopped, right? But I sat down and said, hey, God made you and my brains very special, very similar. And there's going to be some challenges that we have that mom doesn't have. Being on time, being kind, not snapping. That's going to be a thing that we work through the rest of our lives. And God made our brain special so we can really sit with hurting people and they feel safe with us. And so I gave her some things, I acknowledged some challenges she's going to have. It's not an excuse. We're going to have to work on this. And I acknowledge some gifts she has. And then here's part two. When she comes in feeling hot, the first words out of my mouth, I believe you. Exhale. Not shut up. That's too loud. It didn't hurt. I look at her and say, I believe you. And I let it sit. As much as I want to solve this problem right now, I need to let her know, I see you. I believe you. I believe you're that mad. I believe you think I was that unjust just now. I believe you believe that. You cannot hit your brother. That is not okay in this house. I said, turn the TV off. You chose not to, which means you just chose this consequence, which I wish you hadn't chosen. That's a choice you made. Please don't do that. This house doesn't run without you here. Then she learns, I can choose what happens next. I begin to learn autonomy in an age-appropriate way. But the words, I believe you, for a kid who feels heavy is just like, lotion on a burn. They go, okay, and then we can move forward.
Well, even spouses like to hear that.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Walt and I have worked together. We've been married 43 years. It's just amazing. But we've worked in a medical practice, for all of our adult life. And one of the things we do, we're not super competitive, but one of the things I've noticed, this is terrible. He's not here, but I can say it, is that if I say something, like, I think this child has this, he'll always add, oh yeah, but it could be, rather than, yeah, that's a good diagnosis. You're right. And it doesn't rattle me because I know I'm right. I've had a little more training, but anyway. Yeah. And so it doesn't rattle me. But even when a spouse looks at you and goes, yeah, I get it. I believe what you're saying. Yeah. You're right. It just makes you feel stronger. It makes you feel relaxed. It makes you feel good. But when somebody is always challenging you, you get sort of thorny around the edges. Even as an old person, with a long relationship with your husband, you kind of do. And so I think that's good advice, really kind of for anybody, because every husband wants to be seen. They want their wife to go to them and go, how are you? And sit down and listen. And every wife wants that from her husband as well. And the power of just looking at somebody going, man, you've had a tough day. And I can see that you're really rattled. Just if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. So
I think that the most terrifying question a person can ask, and I think the thing that most of us have are numbing behaviors in avoidance of, is the question, now that you see all of me, now that you really know me, will you still love me? Now that you see all of me, are you going to leave? And I think you can be married 50 years, and that question still haunts you a little bit. And so I think the words like "I believe," or when somebody says "I think" or "I feel," and they insert their political opinion, what they're not asking you is, "Hey, what do you think about?" They're telling you what they think and what they feel. So even if you think they're crazy what they just said, saying, "Huh, tell me more about that," or "Yeah, I believe that you think that," or "I believe you believe that." I see you and I hear you. You're not asking for my opinion. You're just asking, are you still with me? I'm still with you. I'm still with you. And kids, man, they ask that all day, every day. All day, every day.
They do. They absolutely do. It's particularly challenging in this climate because, everything is so politically charged and people take it so seriously. I actually heard somebody on the news the other day, a psychologist say, if you don't get along with your family and they voted for one person and you don't like it, don't have Thanksgiving with them. I thought, are you out of your mind?
An idiot.
Let's just sort of
moron.
Really? Can you believe that? And I thought, because relationships and are so much more important, and the chances are in a family of 6 or 10 or whatever, somebody's going to think differently than you are.
My wife and I disagree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I do, Meg, I send an email out. Me or my wife, we send an email out to our immediate family when we travel for the holidays. Here's the off-limits topics. We started that during COVID. We're not having this discussion. None of us are virologists. None of us are epidemiologists. So anything that anybody says is from some news channel, and they're not right. So we're not talking about this. We're not talking about this. We're not talking about this. And I was nervous the first time I hit send on that 5 or 6 years ago. Now it's become, they'll text and be like, "What's the list this year?"
Yeah.
Because it freed everybody to drop their guard down, and everybody wasn't waiting for somebody to bring up the taboo topic. So cool. Some people at my Thanksgiving table, their person won. Some people at my Thanksgiving table this year, their person lost. How's your kids? How's your garden?
Yeah.
It's been really hot this fall. It's been weird hot. Let's talk about, anyway. Yeah.
Well, that goes back to what we were originally talking about, which is all the things in our environment that are attacking us that drive that anxiety up and up and up. And you can really feel it at a Thanksgiving table. My guest has been Dr. John Deloney. He's a 2-time #1 national best-selling author, mental health expert, and host of the Dr. John Deloney Show. You have to listen to it. You can tell how smart he is. He's the author of the best-selling books, Own Your Past, which is great, Change Your Future, Redefining Anxiety, and most recently, Building a Non-Anxious Life. You can follow John on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. Where else, John? Don't tell people.
No more internet. Go be with your families. Yeah.
Go be with your
families.
Yeah.
Can I tell you this? The most important thing, I'm just really grateful that you're my friend, Meg. You've been really kind to me as I've been trying to figure out this new ecosystem, and the world I inhabit really well. And so thank you for being my friend. You make me feel less crazy.
Well, that's because I'm uber crazy. But we're sort of traveling similar paths, and we're kindred spirits in what we're trying to do.